Oh, hello. My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Happy Sunday, everyone. It is kind of a gloomy little weekend here in Nashville, but you know, we're in December, so I think that probably makes sense. This is my mid-month check-in somehow already. I think because the way American Thanksgiving fell this year, the Christmas season has just felt very fast. So I don't know. I just feel like time is flying. It's been a good little December. I feel like in theory, that's when people are kind of slowing down and taking some time because of some complications on projects I've been working on. That hasn't been so much the case, but ideally, hopefully, I think by the end of the week, it should be back to being pretty chill. God help me. Please, can we just, by the time we get to right before Christmas, can we just relax a little bit? So because of that, I have definitely been reading. I haven't been getting done as much as I wanted to because if you don't know, I cut off my end of the year at the 15th of December every year. And that is like the basis from which I make all of my end of the year lists. And there was a couple of books I was hoping to sneak in hopes that they might be ones to make one of those lists. And one of them I did do that and has. I won't tell you which one, but, I guess actually two of these did end up making my end of the year list. So I guess I did accomplish that somewhat, but yeah, it wasn't I didn't get to as many of those as I was hoping. So today is my last sort of like real reading day for that. And I may try to make some progress in terms of picking a book that I think really could possibly make the end of the year list. But in reality, guys, I am now at the point of the year, which is like one of my favorite times of year where I really pivot into just like full comfort reading mode and just full on mood reading. So anyway, we'll talk about the things that I've read so far and some things I have in progress and what I might read next. You guys know the drill. This is what I do every month in my mid-month check-in. Okay, maybe we'll run through this by genre. So first of all, I have been reading interspersed through things a lot of Christmas novellas because you guys know I enjoy reading them honestly all year long, but especially at Christmas time. My favorite little, not quite a novella, I would call it a short novel, was Secret Santa by Noelle Adams. You guys know I love Noelle Adams, and I just thought it was a super cute friends to lovers story. And I do think that it was doing something a little bit different with that kind of plot type. Usually in a friends to lovers romance, kind of the ultimate climax of the book is the friends declaring their love and getting together. This is one where they get together earlier on in the book, and the climax is more around the heroine trying to figure out, like, is it that I love you and we have great sex, or is it that I'm in love with you? And so that's sort of the conflict. And it just it was like a real grumpy on the outside, but marshmallow on the inside hero. It was just real fun. I really enjoyed this one. This is probably my, I would probably say this is my second favorite Christmas novella I've read, or Christmas novel I've read this year. The first definitely being the Earl's Christmas Pearl. I would say this is probably number 2. I really liked it. It was very satisfying in terms of giving me what I want from like a nice little Christmas romance. Then I have done a little bit of reading in sci-fi and fantasy. So I finished The Stars We Steal by Alexa Donne. So I did this as a buddy read with Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany and Joshana from Joshana C. Shout out to them for being patient with me because it took me a while to get to this. We thought we were going to start right at the beginning of December, and then I just had some other things I had to get done. So they were very patient and waiting for me to get my shit together to read this. This is a book that I had a really fun time reading. That's sort of like my abiding experience of this book, is that it's a lot of fun. The setup for this is YA sci-fi that is bachelorette meets persuasion in space. So there's a lot happening in that description and a lot of ooh, that's really interesting. And I think mostly this book pulls that off because it has a nice quality to the writing, and it knows that it's a fun book. And you guys know, if you watch this channel, I like books where the author is aware of the kind of book they're trying to write and leans into it. This one I would say has that. I think it kept me turning the pages. I enjoyed it. I gave this 3.5 stars for 2 reasons. The reason, because I'm sad that I didn't love this, and I didn't love this, but I had a good time reading it. The thing that kept it from getting 4 or 4.5 stars for me are twofold. First, I think, and I'm going to make a whole video about this, I think this has been a year where I've identified some more specific taste preferences on my part, but something that I've realized is that I struggle with YA books where a major component of them are the characters getting married, unless it is in like ye olde fantasy world. I can more kind of go with the flow there, but the romance piece of this reads like a contemporary, and I just struggle where, like, in a situation where marriage is a part of that romance, because for me at that point, it should just be an adult romance. Like, I just think that a marriage of convenience or like an arranged, all of those things, I just think work better in an adult romance, and I buy it more. So that's just like kind of a personal taste thing. The other thing that I do think is probably a little bit of a fundamental flaw in the book is that I'm not sure that Persuasion was the best source material for Jane Austen, for like a Jane Austen element in this, because Persuasion works in Jane Austen because it is set in the Regency. And in the Regency, there are like incredibly real reasons why a man and a woman would not be able to fully and honestly communicate with each other. That was like an intrinsic part of their culture and a part of how their social structures were set up. In a book that is like meant to be like futuristic, so it's set like in space, and it reads very much like a contemporary. Like, it doesn't, while there is a different society we're talking about, it doesn't read like, it reads like it's just a contemporary. And for there to be just like so many fundamental like miscommunication elements, I just don't think is plausible, or at least I didn't buy it. Like, it wasn't sold to me. So like, there's a suspension of disbelief that is required for it to work that I just think wasn't totally executed to my satisfaction. So I wish, like, we were talking about this in the chat, and I was saying, I wish that this had actually been like YA sci-fi, The Bachelorette meets Emma in space. I think that that could have worked a lot better, and it wouldn't have required so many like people just not talking to each other elements to it. So that was really kind of like my biggest problem, and like why I couldn't fully just like suspend my disbelief and really just have like a rollicking good time and love this. But all that being said, I do still think that this is worth reading. Like, I enjoyed it and had a, like, I keep saying fun, because that really was my experience of like, this is just fun. I'm having a good time reading this. So yeah, anyway, I could say more, but it would get spoilery and I don't want to go there. But I appreciate Bethany and Shoshana's patience, and I enjoyed buddy reading this with them. And, you know, I would definitely try more from Alexa Dunn. I also just think she as a person is fucking rad. So like, you know, for that reason alone, I would want to try more from her. And I think her next one is a YA mystery, and you guys know, I have preferences, but I do in theory really love a YA mystery. So this was one of the books that I finished that's sort of sci-fi-y, fantasy-y. The other fantasy-y book, well, actually, no, wait, I guess this is really sci-fi. The other sci-fi book I read, and by read I mean DNF'd, because I was just bored, guys. Like, I just couldn't keep going. And I feel like this is gonna be controversial for a number of reasons, but Gideon the Ninth. So there's been a lot of controversy around this recently. I'm trying to decide if I want to get into that. High level, fan fiction is fan fiction. It has its own conventions. It's not published work. And I think conflating things that people write in fiction with their personal viewpoints can be dangerous. And we'll just leave that there. So I still was going to read this because I wanted to see what I thought, because this has been one of the biggest like sort of sci-fi like SFF releases of the year, and it's been very polarizing. People either seem to really like it or seem to really not like it. This, I just was bored. Like, I just didn't feel like anything was really happening. There's a lot of style to this book, and I mostly liked the style, but the style wasn't enough to keep me going. There wasn't enough substance underneath it. So I applaud the imaginative universe of the author. Like, I think it's clear she has like ideas and like interesting ideas and interesting ways that she's like executing on those ideas. Not like I hated this, I would never read anything. It just, this book was not working for me. So if I was going to try her again, I would need to wait for a new series. So yeah, this one sadly just didn't work for me. It's not like the worst thing I've ever read, but I wasn't enjoying it enough to continue. And that's just sort of the long and the short of it. Okay, let's segue into mystery. And I'm realizing I actually have had a lot of reads this month that I was a little on, but I've had a couple that I really liked, as I was talking about earlier. Okay, so probably the most disappointing mystery I've read this year. They All Fall Down by Rachel Howzell Hall. And that is because this is a retelling of And Then There Were None. And the setup of the retelling is super interesting, which is our main character thinks she's going to this like beautiful like home in Mexico to be on a reality TV show. It's on this island and she has, you know, secrets from her past, and she gets there and then like eventually the And Then There Were None plot unfolds. So this is so disappointing because there are elements of this book that I think are really good and really promising. And I was surprised. So I got this because I was like, oh, and Then There Were None retelling. You guys know I'm a sucker for that. I got it for that reason. And then I started looking at some of the reviews and realized that it had not been getting very good reviews. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. And they were talking about like the writing not being good. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer. So I started reading. And at first I was like, I don't know what people are talking about. I think the writing is perfectly good. Like it's fine. But as I got further into it, I started to understand, I think, what people are trying to get at, which is, I think that this is a situation where the point of view character, the choice of point of view character for the story that was being told just didn't work. I think that this point of view character for a different book would work much better, and I think would work much better in like more of a straightforward thriller. It doesn't work as a whodunit. I think, you guys know I'm a little sketchy sometimes on a ton of points of views in a book. I think that this type of story merits multiple points of view and benefits from it. Not always, but often. And if it's not going to have multiple point of views, that main point of view needs to be really strong and really effective. And this one just didn't work. She was so up in her own head, and it left the other characters feeling very flat. The other thing that this is somewhat a personal taste preference, but also I just think the more I read these kinds of books, the more I'm going to kind of say that this is probably the best way to go. I think that this kind of plot setup benefits from getting everyone together pretty quickly and having the murders happen pretty quickly. This one takes like half the book for there to be someone killed. And I just think that that was a pacing mistake, and it left the front half feeling really weird and the back half feeling really rushed. So sadly, I think I gave this 2 or 2.5 stars. There's promise here. Like, I could see this author writing a different kind of book that I would like better, but this book I think really has some big problems with it. So that was a big bummer. And then let's segue. Did I mention that we're in the mysterious genre section of this video? We're in the mystery section. So let's segue into In Death time. You guys, I'm officially caught up on all the novels. I have finished all 49 novels in the In Death series. I am ready for the 50th one. I do have some novellas, which you can bet your sweet macaroons that here in my comfort reading little jag here, I will definitely be getting through some more of the novellas. But in terms of the novels, I'm caught up. And so I read 2 of those and I will tell you about them. So the first one was Connections in Death. And this one I gave 3 stars to. This was a situation where it's like, it was a perfectly fine In Death novel. It just, there wasn't really a lot notable about it in my opinion, but this one is good. It's about a guy who had been in a gang and he had been addicted to drugs, and he went to prison and actually like really got his life together from that. Like he got clean and was really working to turn his life around, and then all of a sudden somebody like breaks into his apartment and stages an overdose for him, and they're trying to figure out why, and it gets into all these like gang things. And again, this one was perfectly fine. I enjoyed my time with it. I liked seeing more from Wilson, aka Crack. Like I liked hearing more about him and his world. So, you know, some good character stuff in here and there. Just, it wasn't like one of the best ones in the series, but perfectly good. And then I liked better Vendetta and Death, which is the 49th one, which is the one that came out this fall. And I'm officially caught up. This actually, it's a very similar in a lot of ways to Brotherhood in Death. There's some definite parallels here in terms of sort of like revenge against predatory men and somebody who is like serial murdering them. And I would say that this one is probably not quite as good as Brotherhood in Death, but I thought it was really good. And I thought she did a good job of making it a slightly different story with kind of a different pacing and a different valence to the kind of mood of it. There was good character stuff in this one. Yeah, I just thought that this was a really good In Death book. This is, you know, it was better, I thought, than Connections in Death. So I am caught up. I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, I don't think I'm fully aware of the fact that I don't just have an endless supply anymore of these books to read at my leisure. But yeah, it was a good note to end my in-depth reading year on. And I completed that challenge. I did not think I was going to make it, but the tides turned and I made it happen. And then probably my favorite thing I've completed so far this month, definitely my favorite like mystery thing, was Nalini Singh's A Madness of Sunshine. Guys, I'm so relieved that I liked this. So Nalini Singh is an author that I very much enjoy in her urban fantasy and her romance work that she has done to date. And you know, when you're like one of your favorite authors like branches out into a new genre, it's like, oh, how is this gonna go? I hope that this is good. Like, if it's bad, I'm gonna feel bad. And if it's good, that's great. And like, I'll have a whole new way to enjoy their work. I'm very happy to report that this was really good. This is 4 stars. This is a small town thriller. So there's this woman who goes back to her kind of like rural New Zealand town because of some like unexpected changes in her life, and pretty soon thereafter a local girl goes missing, and in the course of searching for her, these kind of killings from the past reemerge onto people's radars, and they start trying to figure out if her death is connected to them and who done it. So this is definitely a thriller, and I think one thing, again, getting into like specific trope preferences or specific genre preferences, I've realized that it is, I'm not going to say impossible, but very difficult for a thriller like this for me to just love it. The only time I just love it is when it's more of a true romantic suspense. I don't know why. I'll have to mull on that a little bit more. But that being said, I gave this 4 stars, and I think that this was really well done. One thing I appreciate is that it was not super long. I think sometimes thrillers can trip themselves up by like padding the pages. This one did not do that. I think it keeps moving at a very nice clip. Interesting characters, though I will say that some of them I think are a little, you know, too much close to their archetype. I would have liked a couple of more variants, especially in some of the male characters, but I think the female characters in this book are excellent. And I love that a big thematic piece of this is that women can be angry and that's okay. I also really like how she leaves things with one of the, so the main character has a few different conflicts going on, and one of the main internal conflicts she has is just like her relationship with her abusive father, and that's why she's like stayed away from the town, because he's there and she wants to get away from him. And I really, really liked how Nalini Singh resolved that conflict, because it's not how it always goes, and I thought it was like empowering and I enjoyed it. So anyway, I think that this is really, really good if you're looking for just like a fun thriller that moves along at a nice clip, good characters, you know, just a well done version of what it is. I definitely recommend this, and I would read more from her in the future for sure in this genre. And then I've got a few things in progress. So the thing that I'm most excited about that I'm almost done with is How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. This is really, really good, guys. It's a collection of her short stories. Most of these are sci-fi. There's a couple of things that I think probably could be more fairly called fantasy, but this is mostly like sci-fi short stories. I think that this just really, I'm so glad I started with her here, because I think this gives me such an idea of her imaginative range, and kind of, I feel like I get what her project is from this book, just like reading all these different stories. I think she's one of those authors who I feel like has an incredibly clear moral vision to their fiction in a way that is not didactic or like pat cliche. I just think it undergirds thematically everything that she does in a way that I think is really hard to do and is very compelling. I will say that there's ups and downs in this collection. I'm gonna guess I'll land on 4 stars for it, because there are some short stories I don't like as much as others, but overall really enjoy this, and I'm so glad that like I'm dipping my toes in the water with her. I do think my next book is gonna be The City We Became, which is her new release this spring. I think that's probably where I'll go next with her, just because there's a short story in here that must be kind of the basis for that, and I really liked that one. Anyway, I just am so glad that I've read this, and I'm excited to do more with her. Definitely would recommend. Always excited to see people who can do short stories well too, because I really like short stories. I'm also about, I think 70% of the way through the audiobook of this one. Like I was reading it physically and then I switched to the audiobook. I do think going forward, I'm just going to listen to the audiobooks of this, because I quite like the way they're done. And I find them a really pleasant companion when I'm working, because, yeah, like if I'm working on something where it's more like kind of mindless, this is a nice level of engagement of something to listen to alongside that. I'm enjoying this one, and I think I mentioned last month I like this better than I liked the first one. So yeah, I just need to sort of find some time to polish off the audio of this. And then God as my witness, I will finish Essays in Understanding this year. I've been working on this for 2 years, and I will finish it by the end of this year. I don't have that much left, but I just need to finish it off. I like it. That's the part that's so funny about this. I really enjoy this, but it's just, you know, it's philosophy, so it's a little heavier to get through, but yeah, I'm gonna get through this one. And then, you know, like I said, I think I mostly am ready to shift into full, just sort of mood reading mode. But if I were going to tell you 3 other books that I'm like somewhat committed to finishing in the next couple of weeks, one is Headliners by Lucy Parker, because I have an arc of that and it comes out like right at the beginning of January. So I want to read that. Also Lucy Parker. Oh, that will be a treat to get through. All 3 of these are treats to get through. I really would like to read Dragonshadow by Elle, Katharine White, which is the second in the Heartstone trilogy. I would like to just at least read that, so then I can read Flamebringer sometime next year. This is the second book in a trilogy, and I love the first book, so I just want to keep going with it. And then Four Dead Queens, because this just seems like fun, and I would love to just say that I've gotten through this one, because I think it'll be really good. Other than that, I think I'm mostly committed to just like reading what I feel like reading, listening to the audiobooks I feel like listening to, and just sort of like going with the flow. You know, this is a part of my reading year that I do really enjoy, where I, you know, just sort of lean into whatever it is that I feel like reading, just sort of get cozy with things. So yeah, I want to enjoy that part of my reading year, because come January, I will have new challenges that I'm trying to meet and new kind of projects that I'm trying to get going. So I mostly at this point of the year kind of cut my losses in terms of things that I didn't get to that I was hoping I would, and say, okay, well, we will just try again next year. So anyway, enough of my yapping. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. So let me know what you guys have been reading right now. Any books that you've really enjoyed so far in December. Any thoughts you have on the books that I was talking about. Let me know that below. And yeah, I think that will do it. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all of that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. I hope you guys are having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.